Hey, what is up, nation? In this session, we're going to be going through an in-depth tutorial all the way through modeling a skate ramp called the Spine. Okay, so I saw this cool spine ramp, I guess that's what it's called. I guess it's a classic ramp that was in a documentary that they recreated at a place called Woodward that is known for having crazy ramps and stuff like that. So I guess a long time ago, Tony Hawk actually skated it as part of a video series that he was a part of. So there's like this thing right here is called the Spine because it curves up like this, and then there's just a rail here, and then it curves on the other side, so I guess it's kind of like a spine, or that's what they call it. The first thing that we want to do here is we want to set our axes. So what I did is I just imported this photo, and then what I want to do is just change the way that my axes are, or my perspective lines. So what I'm going to do is when I see a clear, okay, so this looks fairly offset for some reason, so we'll just choose this. Now, ideally, these kind of things work best when you have like long perspective lines. I don't know why this and this. These must be at different heights. Probably what's going on there. You just want to zoom in. So I'm using my mouse wheel for that to zoom in and just micro adjusting these lines. And you can see the grid that is developing will reflect what's going on here. Typically you want to have the longest lines, and then what I'm going to do here is move my origin. Oh, my origin's right here. I'm going to select here. You can see, or maybe we'll do here. That'll be our origin point, and then the grid here, I'm just going to scale it down. That seems more appropriate. So you can sort of check your lines and stuff like that and see if it makes sense. So I'm just going to hit done here. And now we have a ramp in here, at least to start doing a photo match. Basically what happened just then is that we realigned our axes so that it makes it easy to model on top of this photo. As I rotate, that photo will disappear. If I want to bring that back up, I would just click on, this is the image name of that file. I just click on that and it brings me back to this model on top of view. So, and then there's a little animation that can be kind of annoying to have to deal with because it's kind of slow. What I like to do typically is go to window. I think it's in model. Yeah, it's in model info. Under animation, there's this enable scene transitions. If you uncheck that, what'll happen is that it'll go directly to the location of the photo. That's great, so you don't have to worry about that animation. For like watching one, it's not a problem, but when you start doing it like 400 times, it actually becomes sort of annoying. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this now. So I should have I don't have a location, so I'm just gonna call this Spine. Okay, now I can start modeling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a lot of shortcuts here, but I'll try to tell you what I'm doing just so that it makes a little bit of sense when I do it. So I'm going to start with just some basic geometry to get the feel for what's going on here. So I'm just trying to line up everything a little bit. So I hit R there to make a rectangle, and then I hit P to push-pull that up. Now, you can see there, I rotated around to select this face. Now, if I go back, I can then push-pull it to where I want it to be. So I have these lines all set up and they'll look nice. Same thing here. I'm going to select this. And in this particular case, if I hit M, it sort of works like the push-pull tool. So I can use that there. Now, you can see here that this like curves a little. So what I'm actually going to do is select this and then push pull it out, but I don't want to get rid of that line that I have because I have it set up. So I'm going to hit Control here and it's going to make another copy of that. And that way I have this line here where this edge is, but now I have an additional face that I can start to make the geometry here. And then the thing that I noticed from doing this is that this and this seem like they're at the same height. So what I'm going to do is just sort of think about how I want to go about modeling this. And actually, if I extend this, we might be able to see if this is at the same height. Okay, it is. So it looks like we have two different levels of ramp. So there's like a level here, here, and here. This goes up a little bit higher. This is at that lower level. This might be a mid ground between these two. But it's just important to be able to think about that kind of thing as you are modeling. Then here I should be able to just hit L there to make a line. And then right here I can draw a vertical line down. And that will allow me to push pull this out to here. See, I'm just lining that guy up. And then here I should be able to just select that. P to bring that up. Now this is a little bit of a tricky situation. So these definitely align, and I'm not sure what happens here. So you may need to just sort of make a judgment call at some point. Well, we'll leave that there. We might come back to it. What I want to do is sort of get a line that's on the middle here. Goes to about there. And in theory, okay, so I think what's happening is this goes up. This looks like it comes out more. So that's what we'll do. That's probably why this doesn't work very well. Yeah, so that looks much better. So we'll just extrude this to be consistent. We'll extrude it to there. Looks pretty close. So you can see here, like these two are not aligned quite. So we'll just split the difference. It might be an error with the perspective that I, like my lines that I set up. So now what I want to do, I don't know the mathematics for how ramps work. So I'm just going to copy this up. So I selected this line here. I hit P, or I hit M, sorry. And then control as I was moving. And it allows me to do that. If I hit A, it gives me the arc tool. And then I can select here. And then it allows me to draw a face on that. So I get a little tangent. Then here I can go all the way across. I can get rid of these little seams if I hit E. It gives me the eraser tool. If I just click on a line, you can see it deletes it. But if I hold control, it will smooth that line out. So just to be clear what I'm doing here, and if I go to view hidden geometry, it'll allow me to select this geometry. These spines I think are the same. We'll see. So if I select this guy, delete some of these other things. Select everything. Right click, go to flip along. So I want to go the green direction. Just going to make this a group. So right click, make it a group. That way stuff doesn't start getting stuck to each other. So if I go here and move this in, yeah, so I think this should work. So if I bring this to here, what I can do is then pull this back in. So it's just the platform. Or actually, let's extrude this down. So if I go here, it'll give me the intersection. I'm going up. At this point, this is just a reference line. So up. So if I hit the plus arrow on my keyboard, it gives me that. And then I should be able to go down here. I'm just going to copy this face. Copy. And then extrude this down. P. Push pull it down, sorry. I've been using Sketchup for a long time, but I still use old AutoCAD terminology. I haven't used our AutoCAD in a very long time. So paste in place, make this a group, and then actually just get rid of this little piece there. Then this I should be able to push this. I'm going to push this all the way over. And then to make this, it's going to be pretty easy. If I just take this line, put this here, and then pull this up. So we get that little guy. Then I can take this, and this is one of the beauties of SketchUp, go along that red axis. There we go. So we have that little platform there. And I can actually, I think I might keep that for now. So we have that guy. We have these two guys. The spine is here. So what will happen with the spine? Well, I guess let's see if this is the same. Yeah, so this actually looks exactly the same. Oops, I didn't reverse this. So put this here. I'm going to assume that all of these angles are the same. So flip along green. Take this, and this is going to be extruded. Yeah, so I actually don't need a lot of these faces because I have the ramp here. Right, so we have something like that. And maybe I just offset these slightly. So let's do like, I don't know, 6 inches. Maybe we'll do even less than that. Let's do like 3 inches. That way we have a spine, but those faces there aren't overlapping. Come into this, just edit it to go here, and then all the way across. Something like that. And then what I need to do here is just extrude this so that it comes in line with that face there. And we'll save this. So you can see there's some like overlapping geometry here. What we want to do is get rid of that geometry. So I'm going to draw a line here, and that's going to allow me to delete this face. And then I can hide this line. I need that line because it creates this little wall there. Eventually we'll make that into like some framing. And then here the trick is we need to get rid of this line, but it's a separate group, and I actually kind of like that, so we need to just hide. And then as I turn off hidden geometry, you can see that those lines they get hidden. This guy we need to move out a little bit so that it is flush. So I push-pulled, but in this particular scenario, it makes sense to do a move. We'll just hide that, and then we want to separate this line where that intersects, so we can hide that. I guess hide both of these. Okay. And what just happened is that so make group. I'm going to go into this group. What I don't need this line. And then this should be flush with that. This should be flush with that. That whole line there is extra. Turn this back on. Okay, that should have fixed that issue. And then what I want to do is take this guy. He's going to be the same on the other side. So take that, flip along green. Then we'll just position this that lines up right there. You see there's these little pieces that continue up. We'll deal with those in a little bit. So we have that. I'm just going to draw the platform basically. Draw another platform here. So if I select these three, make these a group, and then explode, we should be able to just soften these. So if we just make the ramp a single entity, so if we select that, Control X, edit, paste in place. Go back over here, so I will only make a little cutout here. Okay, so this gets push-pulled up. And then we'll do a little arc. Something like this. Just make sure you're on your face. Just try to match that up as best you can. Looks pretty good. Now, the one thing that you'll run into, like if I want to copy this to the other side and I do this, what I can't do is I can't flip that because it's just a shape or it's just a single line. So if I make that into a shape, I can then copy it over, right click, and then I can flip it along the, I think we want to go red. Yeah. You can see here we have that, and then I can erase, deselect everything, erase these two lines, and then push pull this all the way back. And I might be able to even just like push this. Maybe that's a little bit more appropriate. And then I can select, ooh. Let's try to do this again. Just want to make sure that, so what happened there, okay, I didn't draw a vertical line up from where that intersects. So when I copied it over, it didn't have that geometry. So we just want to be careful with that kind of stuff. If something funky happens, like what just happened to me, you might have to do a little sleuthing to figure out what's going on. Face, I don't want to intersect faces. I want to flip along. There we go. So so if I just draw this, it should fill in that shape. Not sure why it's doing that. So let's try again. Take this, flip along red direction. So I don't know why it's doing that, but what I'm going to do is make that a group. And then we can do this, flip along red. A different way. So now that these are groups, if I explode them, we can probably do what I wanted to do. Yeah, so I erase those lines in between them. It gives me this new face that I can then select. Select it, hit P for push-pull, go all the way across, and it will make a nice line here, or a nice cutout. If I use the eraser tool and select that, it'll get rid of it. And then here I can just hit Control with the eraser tool selected and go over those, and it'll smooth all of that out. So when I select these, hit Control X, come into here, paste in place. And then for this guy, I should be able to get rid of those lines. I should be able to get rid of this line and this line. So you can see we have a pretty nice ramp going on here. So far, come into this, hide. Okay, so I think we're getting pretty close. We almost have the entire ramp finished, the ramp portion, and then we'll go through and we'll do the framing. So the ramp part is obviously the hardest part. So here we're just going to pull this down. It's a little bit tricky, so I'm going to turn hidden geometry on. And then we're going to see if we can find, so what I'm doing here is pulling this down. And then we're going to pull it out a little bit. And then I'm selecting the bottom face there. What I want to do is I want to try to find an area of our curve where there's a geometry. Basically, like where this comes down is close to where this is. That just makes it easier for us to draw a line that connects. So if we had more lines in here, we could do something sort of that was right here. We don't have that, so we're just going to do something that's close. Okay, so we have this guy. Just want to make sure that when I come in here, I have a geometry that I can draw on, right? So we select this, and then I'm going to hit R here to make a rectangle. So what I'm trying to do is get an arc on this face that I can then pull, and then we'll subtract this little shape out. And I can actually even do that now. So if I, how about we do this? So I'm going to select this shape and then come into this group that has my ramp, edit, paste in place, then make this a group and pull it through. So what we have here is we have these two geometries, and just for the sake of this particular tool, I'm going to make that a group and then hit subtract. So you want to subtract the first solid from the second. So if I do this, nothing happens because I didn't think about this. This is a solid, or it's not a solid. It's just a bunch of faces currently. So the way that you can get around that is if I select all of this and select the shape, right click, go to intersect faces with selection. What will happen is that this will create some geometry on the other geometry, so I can actually just delete that. Now we have maintained our little curve here. And if I fill this in, we have that nice little shape there. Okay, so when we come to here, we can choose our, so this looks like it may be two separate curves, so we'll do something like this. And the trick here really, or the thing to be careful of as you go through and do something like what I'm doing right now, is that it can be really easy to get these like kind of weird kinks in your model when you're connecting two curves. So whenever you can make them tangent, be sure to do that. And then just to help in my cause here, so just want to look at that and see. So it looks like there might be a little bit of a kink there. Actually, I think that's okay. It's pretty smooth transition between the two. So now when I select this and pull it along, you may have to get rid of some of these extra lines. We have a much smoother looking shape. And then I can take this, put it on the other side here, and then reverse face, because this has the back face showing. I've got an extra little piece there. So there we go. We have all of the ramp done. If I turn off hinge geometry, it should look pretty smooth. If you see anything that looks like you don't need it, you can always get rid of it. I'm actually going to take this and put it in the ramp portion. Edit, paste in place. We're going to hide that guy. Okay, so that seems like the bulk of it. There's some other things going on that I want to address. So there is the framing, and then there is also all of the coping. So the coping, we'll start with that. Basically what I want to do here is add like a pipe. And I'm not sure what size they typically use for skating, but I'm going to start with making this a group just so that everything here is connected. And then what I'm going to do is trace over these lines here. Right, so along this whole thing, if I yeah, it's hard to see, but it is all selected. I just double selected. This is a good view. Right, so I hit move, you can see that we have that. If I hit P or C here, I can make a circle. So I'm using the arrow keys. It allows me to switch to different axes. If I choose, let's say 4-inch, 4-inch seems like it might be, that feels appropriate to me. I don't know. I don't know. I've never built a skate ramp before. You can then select that and it'll extrude the shape, the profile that we just had along that path. And then I just need to reverse my face so it shows that and then make it a group. And this may not be like exactly on center. So let's say we have a 4-inch pipe. We move it down, let's say 1 inch, and then move it in 2 inches. So maybe it's more something like that. And if I select this, hit B to bring up the materials tray. If I hit black here, let's make it like a charcoal so we can just see the difference. So we have that. Looks pretty cool. So coping all the way along here. And then we can do the same thing with this guy. We don't actually need to draw the line in this particular option because, well, actually we might, because I don't want to end up going into that group. So select the path, select follow me, select your coping, group it up. B, I'm going to select all. And then what do we do? Down 1, in 2. And this one we can actually use in a bunch of other locations. So let's say edit, paste in place. So we'll put these in a separate group. We can use this little point as a reference. So as I'm moving this, but I hit Control and it will make a copy. Hit S to scale. And then just scale that all the way to the end there. What I'm going to do here is bring this in here and then put this in 2 inches. And then again, we're going to scale. S, just go to there. So we have a few more. Now there is like a section here that I don't know how they would do it in real life because I think, oh, okay, so I assume that this would be coping here and coping here. I don't know how they would deal with that, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. The trick here, so if I was to do, I can even show you. Let's copy this. this edge here. So I'm going to hit copy, and then we're going to go back into, I had made a group for the coping, edit, paste in place, and then turn off some of this other stuff. If I was to draw a circle here, let's draw it at 4. Right. 4. Okay. If I select all of this stuff and then deselect, then follow me, it sort of has like this weird shape, you can see. So what you want to do is actually put this down somewhere like in here. Select your geometry or your path. Actually, I think what we might want to do is just rotate this so it's about right. So I hit Q there to use the rotate tool. And those look like they line up. So if I select this guy, follow me, it should make, yeah, it makes a nice curve. Black. You can hide these lines as well. A quick way to do this, so if before I turn in that black, instead of hiding all of those, what you can do is smooth this out. So if you in your default tray, if you go to soften edges, we can get it looking like that. So you have that guy, and then what we need to do is just let me turn these guys back on. Just group this, and then I want to make sure that I move this in 2 inches because that's what we've been doing. Down 1, something like that. Rotate this, scale it. I'm not sure if these are the same or not, but we could try. So if I do this, flip along red. There we go. Just scale that guy. And the thing, so right here, there's a little bit of an issue. What I'm going to do is, because it's bothering me, and I didn't think it would, but it is take that circle there, and I'm going to bring it down to about here. Okay, so we have this. Now I'm going to take the midpoint, I think that's the very top, and midpoint here. I'm going to try to make a little shape that goes between them. Let's see if that seems to be pretty good. So I have my path selected, follow me, and it actually looks like these are different shapes. So what I can do here though is cheat. So I go back into this guy, edit, paste in place. I have a plugin called, what is it called? It's Loft. It's a loft along curve. So right now I just want to save just in case this sort of like process can very easily go wrong and you can lose a lot of work. So while I'm thinking of it, curve aloft is what it's called. Okay, so if I select curve loft along path, so if I select this, make sure you don't have anything selected. Loft along path. Click down, mouse over, selecting edges. I select this guy, that, and then this. Flip along, red. This is kind of just like fudging it a little bit because I don't know how they would actually do it in real life. Bring that back. Bring this back. Probably something like that, because you're not gonna, I don't know. This may have like a weird shape or something. So there we go. I think that's all of our coping. So we have that. Now we need to do the framing. Let's pull this back up. There's a few things going on here. So I think, oh, actually, let's do the this little fence back there. I'm just going to draw a rectangle here. And let's say this goes like down to here. So I'm just sort of like roughing this in at this point. Just like, I know it's a rectangle, so let's make a random rectangle. So put the top there. And then push this in so it's not so fat. So something like that, maybe. And then as a little trick here, so as I go through and do this, what I want to do is select this project photo. And what that's going to do is going to take the photo that we're looking at and it's going to basically paste it on top of our surface. So it gives you like this kind of look here. Because of the angle that we had set up, you can see like it almost matches perfectly. I can't get it quite perfect. But what this allows me to do is then use this as sort of like an eyedropper. So if I, oh, it didn't work in this particular case, but it puts you in like the right family to be able to then choose a color. You can see here, something like that. Sometimes it works better than others. This time it didn't work that great. So if I just select that, it does that. Just going to delete all these extra little lines and things. So I'm going to turn hidden geometry on in this. Now, part of the issue that that happened is that because of the way that I did that last little thing. It gave me some extra lines because it's trying to make that texture. So I want to get rid of that because it's actually going to be problematic, or it could be problematic, and isn't really adding anything. So here, choose this face. I don't know why it's still on there. Edit, paste in place. Then I should be able to get rid of this line. If I turn hinge geometry off, okay. Now I just call this wood. It's like a, I don't know what color this is. It's like a dark brown, something like that. Okay, so we have that guy. And then I'm just gonna copy this over to each location, making sure that I'm staying on the red axis as I go. These don't seem to sort of have any set reasoning behind their spacing. Okay, so we have that guy, and then what I'm going to do is select this, copy it, rotate it, and then bring it down. Scale. And then I'm going to want to pull this down so that it is the same height. It looks pretty good. Now what should happen here is we go to like there, times, so you can see in the bottom right I have an asterisk symbol, times 8. So we have that, and yeah, it looks like that pretty much works out. So this guy is actually going to be short. So we'll just scale all these guys together. Bring them to, I guess, to here. I'm not sure how that works. I'm gonna push this down a little bit because it seems okay. So there's that. And then the last thing that we need to do is the framing. So at first I was not going to do the framing because I thought it was going to be really annoying to do. And then I thought of a cool trick that would make it a little bit easier to do. So what I'm going to do here is we'll just make this a little fatter. Something like this. Okay. If I move this down, we'll then squish this. Take this, hit Control, copy it over to here. Make sure you're on that red axis, and then holding Shift just to keep it there, divide by 3 by 2. That puts that in the center. It's not dead center for this particular thing, but it's close. Copy this to here. Take these 3. I think that's actually good. And there's like a shape that's going on in there. We'll come back to that. This should be I'm going to bring this up and then just give it a little bit of space. So if I go like I don't know, like an inch. Just want to make sure I don't see anything through that. $90. Okay, so I think here we can actually use this component. Like all those little pieces, we can probably use this elsewhere. So if I make that a group, and then let's say bring this over to here. I mean, it'll be a little different, obviously, but it'll give us a base point, a starting point to go from, right? So it looks like these line up. And in this particular scenario, so if we move this up, and then what do we do, 2 inches? I think that was the vertical distance between these two. Just 1 inch. Let's move that up 1 inch. Now I think for this, I'm going to stick to doing, just for the sake of time, we'll do these 3 and then I'll tack on that guy. Just so that you get a feel for like what is going on or how to do framing. But I don't want to waste everybody's time doing all this framing. Okay, so let's go to here. Just get this little shapey thing. And then here we'll go to the middle of the ramp. That way, group, hide everything else, edit, paste in place. Take this, hide it, and then this should go all the way up. Turn hidden geometry on. I have an extra line there, so, and then we'll just move this. You could give thickness to this. I'm not. And actually for this, I think I want to make it a component. And then we'll move it just a tad bit. So we'll put it down an inch. And then we'll move it back an inch. Just do that on both sides. Bring this all the way over to here. And then I think, what do we have? Just one in the middle? Yeah. We'll take this guy, and we'll move it all the way. Just click the middle line there. And then this is basically just gets put wherever this happens. Two. This to here, move this to here, and then flip along green. Just to make sure these are aligned. Don't want to see that line. Okay. So I'm just going to take this line and copy it down to here, and choose my face. Something like that. So there you go. Maybe we turn off in geometry here. I'm going to make everything that plywood color because it has a front and a back. Maybe for like along this line, Maybe we want to hide this outer edge just so it doesn't show through anything. So if we just hide it, in all cases it'll get rid of that. The last thing that I want to do, and this is the part that I was like, oh man, I really don't want to do that, is these, I guess, supports is what they would be. So I'm going to do them along here. Basically, what I want to do is pick the largest. So this would be the worst case scenario, would be, or at least for this side. So if I select this edge here, do something like that. So I hit Control C there, edit, paste in place. So I just have this path set up, make it a group. Now what I want to do is just want to pull this off to the side, maybe. Go into that group. I think what I want to do is select select this, paste this in here. Now this should just go all the way across to here. All right, so what I wanted to do with this framing here was that I wanted to be able to use a plugin I just downloaded called Copy Along Path. And I've gotten a lot of flack recently from different people asking why I don't teach plugins. And this is a really good moment for me of clarity in some ways. So when I select this path here, what happens is if I go to this tool where I can copy a component along the path. So what I want to do is get this to go along this direction. And this plugin just isn't good enough to be able to figure out what I'm trying to do. So this is what I've been getting. So if I want to do this, the only way that I may be able to try some different plugins out, there may be one that will give me more options so I can choose what axes to rotate this along. But I think I can actually do it without it now that I'm thinking about it. So what I've done here, I've selected this curve, and what I've done is found the center of it. There was an option for that. I guess not now. Okay, find center, and it'll make this little line for you. So if I go back to this, just so I have a reference, and let's say we go down to, let's say to like here. So let's choose this, go down to our last hurrah. So that should be the location where it starts to curve. So we'll do divided by 5, divided by 6. That gives us sort of the what we're looking for. Now if I choose this, use the rotate tool here. What I want to do is move this all the way to here. And then I want to make that roughly the same thickness. I'm going to do divide. So if I choose 10 here, that's not enough. If I choose 15, 18, let's go 20. 20 looks pretty good. So we get that. And then basically take this and then rotate it again just so it's flat. And then we can finish out what's going on here. Times, I don't know, times 5, times 10, times 10, times 15. I can delete that edge. Take this guy, I can squish him in. And now we have what we were looking for. If I move this back, I'm going to just move it back a little bit, just so that stuff's not poking through the surfaces. And then we can individually edit these. This probably, if I select these guys, I'm going to copy them. P for paste. We're going to come into here. Ish. Edit, paste in place. Scale these guys in to here. Edit, paste in place. And then I should be able to copy this. It should be fairly straightforward. Let's go down the bottom actually to here. Whoops. Select all these guys and then just bring them into there. Then select everything and bring it in again. So hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And as always, happy hacking.